Most nights, the mind drifts into sleep, carrying unfinished thoughts, quiet fears, and habits formed long ago. What you fall asleep with, you wake up reinforced by. Tonight offers something different. As these words reach you, they are not asking for effort, only permission to enter and gently rearrange what you expect from yourself. Success is rarely blocked by lack of talent. It is blocked by invisible agreements made in the subconscious. Agreements about what is possible, what feels safe, and what feels meant for you. As you listen, those agreements begin to loosen, making room for stronger ones to take their place. You don't need to memorize anything. You don't need to understand every idea consciously. The deeper mind learns through repetition and feeling. When thought slows and resistance fades, new standards are accepted quietly, almost automatically, shaping tomorrow before it arrives. Notice how the body begins to soften first. That is the signal that the subconscious is opening. In this state, instruction sinks deeper and stays longer. What is heard now becomes part of your inner operating system, guiding decisions without debate or strain. Many people chase success through action alone, wondering why effort never seems to compound. The missing link is alignment. When the inner world is ordered, action becomes efficient. Persistence becomes natural. Results stop feeling random and start feeling inevitable. These principles are not being delivered as rules, but as impressions. Each one plants a seed. Seeds do not rush. They settle, take root, and grow in silence. By morning, you may not remember every word, but the direction of your thinking will already be different. You may feel a quiet sense of recognition, as if something familiar is returning. That is because these ideas are not foreign. They reflect a natural order that becomes clear when confusion and doubt are removed. Success begins to feel logical instead of mysterious. As the minutes pass, urgency fades. The need to force outcomes dissolves. In its place comes steadiness, a calm expectation that progress is unfolding even when you are at rest. This expectation is powerful. It changes how you approach challenges without conscious effort. For years, habits may have trained your mind to prepare for disappointment. Preparation became protection. Tonight, that pattern is gently interrupted. The mind is being reminded that growth is safe, that ambition can be balanced, and that achievement does not require constant struggle. Each principle works with the others, reinforcing a single direction. When purpose becomes clear, confidence stabilizes. When confidence stabilizes, persistence strengthens. When persistence strengthens, opportunities are recognized instead of overlooked. This is how momentum is built quietly, from the inside out. You are not being asked to believe blindly. Familiarity does the work. What the subconscious hears repeatedly begins to feel normal. And what feels normal becomes behavior. Behavior, repeated, becomes destiny. This process has always been at work. Now it is simply being guided. As sleep approaches, the conscious mind loosens control. This is the gateway where change becomes lasting. In this state, impressions bypass argument and become instruction, shaping reactions, habits, and expectations long after the sound fades. You may drift in and out of awareness. Let that happen. The deeper mind remains alert, absorbing patterns even while you rest. It does not need attention to learn. It only needs exposure and consistency. In the days ahead, you may notice subtle shifts. Decisions feel clearer. Distractions lose their pull. Persistence feels quieter but stronger. These are signs that the inner reset has begun expressing itself outwardly. Success does not arrive as a sudden event. It reveals itself through improved judgment, steadier emotion, and consistent action. These qualities are being cultivated now, below the surface, where real change is formed. Stay with the sound as long as you can. Duration strengthens impression. Each moment reinforces a new internal order, one where effort aligns with purpose and ambition feels natural rather than forced. This is not about becoming someone else. It is about removing inner conflict so your natural strengths can operate without interference. When the mind is ordered, results follow without chaos. By the time sleep takes you fully, the work will already be underway. When you wake, you may not feel dramatically different, but you will think differently. And different thinking, repeated, reshapes everything that follows. Let the night do its quiet work. By morning, the reset will already be in motion. I have learned through long years of study that success does not begin in action, nor does it begin in opportunity. It begins in order. When the inner world is confused, effort scatters. When the inner world is arranged, effort concentrates. This arrangement takes place most naturally when the mind is at rest. Most men suppose that sleep is an interruption of progress. They are mistaken. Sleep is instruction. When the body rests and the conscious mind relaxes its guard, the deeper mind continues working without resistance. It reviews impressions, rehearses habits, and fixes expectations that shape the following day. What a man carries into sleep quietly trains his destiny. If his last thoughts are unfinished worries, remembered failures, or imagined dangers, the subconscious accepts these as guidance. It does not question their value. It only repeats them. Repetition creates familiarity, and familiarity becomes belief. Belief governs behavior more faithfully than reason ever could. This is why many capable men struggle without understanding why. Their effort during the day is undone by disorder at night. They labor outwardly while reinforcing confusion inwardly. The result is motion without progress. Success requires harmony between the waking mind and the sleeping mind. Harmony is not excitement, it is agreement. Agreement between thought, expectation, and identity. When this agreement exists, effort compounds naturally. When it does not, effort dissolves. I have observed men of modest education who advanced steadily, while others of greater knowledge stalled. The difference lay not in talent, but in inner order. These men expected progress quietly. Their minds were not divided between hope and fear. Fear consumes energy silently. Order restores it. The night hours reveal this law clearly. In silence, the mind cannot hide from itself. It returns to familiar paths. If those paths are disordered, rest becomes restless. If those paths are orderly, rest becomes renewing. Orderly thought produces calm. Calm produces clarity. Clarity produces correct action. This chain operates whether a man understands it or not. Most people fall asleep, allowing thought to wander, without direction. They would not permit a stranger to rearrange their home at night, yet they permit old habits and doubts to rearrange their minds. By morning, they awaken reinforced in patterns they never consciously chose. Tonight, that pattern is interrupted. You are not being asked to force belief or summon effort. Effort belongs to the waking will. What is occurring now is alignment. Alignment does not strain, it settles. As these words continue, they are not arguing with the mind. Argument invites resistance. They are offering impressions calmly, allowing the deeper mind to accept what feels orderly and release what does not. The subconscious responds to calm authority. Calm authority does not hurry. It does not persuade. It remains steady. I have known men who carried this steadiness long before success appeared outwardly. They were not anxious to arrive. They moved deliberately, confident that results would follow correct arrangement. Others sensed this steadiness and responded with trust. Trust follows order instinctively. When the mind is ordered, posture changes without effort. Breath deepens. Movements grow economical. These signs appear before success is visible. They are early indicators that the inner world has aligned. Success then becomes expression rather than pursuit. Many men chase opportunity without realizing that opportunity responds to expectation. When expectation is confused, opportunity passes unnoticed. When expectation is clear, opportunity is recognized immediately. Expectation is shaped at night. This is why these hours matter more than speeches, resolutions, or outward enthusiasm. The mind learns its standards in quiet moments, not in public declarations. As you listen now, Notice how urgency fades. There is nothing to prove here. The absence of urgency allows the mind to reorganize naturally. Disorder cannot survive calm attention. You may feel a quiet recognition, as though something familiar is returning. That familiarity is order reclaiming its place. Order feels natural because it belongs. Confusion feels heavy because it does not. I have studied the lives of men who achieved lasting success, and I found no exception to this law. Each had arranged his inner world before mastering the outer one. Some did this knowingly, others did it instinctively. But all did it. They did not retire at night rehearsing fear. They retired rehearsing direction. Direction need not be detailed to be effective. It need only be settled. The mind does not require a full map. It requires agreement about movement. When movement is agreed upon, confidence stabilizes. Confidence is not loud assurance. It is absence of inner contradiction. When contradiction ends, confidence appears without announcement. As these impressions repeat, the mind begins to release old agreements. Agreements that said effort must be painful. Agreements that said success was uncertain. Agreements that said rest was unsafe. These agreements dissolve quietly when they are no longer reinforced. The subconscious does not argue. It replaces. What is repeated calmly becomes familiar. What is familiar becomes normal. What is normal becomes identity. Identity directs destiny without effort. This process is unfolding now without strain. You do not need to watch it. Watching interferes. Allowing completes. As sleep approaches more fully, the conscious mind loosens control. This loosening is not weakness. It is trust. Trust allows instruction to sink deeper and remain longer. The deeper mind is alert even as awareness fades. It records tone, rhythm, and meaning. It recognizes order instinctively and aligns with it. By morning, you may not recall these words clearly. That is of no importance. The conscious mind is not the keeper of standards. The subconscious is. Standards have begun to shift. You may notice small changes first, a steadier mood, clearer judgment, less scattered effort. These are early signs of inner order asserting itself. Success does not announce its arrival. It reveals itself through improved decision and consistent action. These qualities are being cultivated now beneath awareness where they endure. Remain with the sound as long as you can. Duration strengthens impression. Each moment reinforces the quiet understanding that success is lawful, orderly, and safe. Nothing is being forced. Nothing is being rushed. The mind is remembering its natural arrangement. By the time sleep takes you fully, the work will already be underway. When you wake, you will not need to try to succeed. You will think differently, and thinking differently, repeated, reshapes everything that follows. Let the night do its quiet work. Order is returning, and where order exists, success follows naturally. I have observed that the mind grows restless when it does not know where it is going. This restlessness is often mistaken for ambition, yet it is merely uncertainty seeking relief. True progress begins only when the mind settles upon a direction and releases all others. Until that moment, effort wanders and strength is divided. Direction is not the same as urgency. Urgency scatters energy. Direction gathers it. A man may move quickly and yet arrive nowhere, while another moves steadily and arrives without strain. The difference lies not in speed, but in inward agreement about where movement is leading. The subconscious mind responds powerfully to settled direction. When the mind senses agreement, it stops questioning and begins supporting. Thought organizes itself. Doubt quiets. Action becomes simpler. This support is automatic. It does not require constant attention. Many men labor for years without gaining ground because they have not chosen inwardly. They attempt many paths, hoping one will carry them forward. In doing so, they teach the mind uncertainty. The mind responds by withholding full strength. Strength follows commitment. Commitment begins inwardly. I have known men who advanced with modest means and limited instruction simply because they chose one direction and refused to abandon it. They did not rush. They did not explain themselves constantly. They moved as though the matter were settled. Others sensed this settlement and responded with cooperation. Direction communicates itself without words. When a man knows where he is going, his posture changes, his tone steadies, his movements become deliberate. These signs appear before results are visible. They are the early language of success. The night hours are especially powerful for establishing direction because the conscious mind no longer argues for alternatives. During the day, possibilities distract. At night, simplicity returns. The mind prefers one clear path to many imagined ones. As you listen now, the mind is being introduced gently to the feeling of settled movement. There is no demand to decide immediately. The feeling itself is sufficient. When the feeling becomes familiar, decision follows naturally. Direction does not require detail to be effective. It requires loyalty. The mind does not need a complete map. It needs a destination accepted inwardly. Once accepted, the subconscious begins adjusting behavior to move toward it. This adjustment occurs quietly. You may notice fewer conflicting thoughts. You may notice clearer judgment. These changes indicate that direction is forming. I have studied men whose names became known across the world, and I found that each had settled upon a direction long before the world took notice. They did not wait for permission. They did not demand certainty. They trusted their choice enough to remain loyal to it. Loyalty strengthens belief. Belief steadies action. Action produces result. This sequence does not require force. It requires agreement. The mind resists confusion. It seeks order instinctively. When direction is absent, the mind grows uneasy. When direction appears, even faintly, the mind relaxes. Relaxation allows strength to flow. This is why success feels calmer as it becomes more certain. Many men imagine that clarity arrives after achievement. In truth, achievement arrives after clarity. Clarity does not appear suddenly. It settles through repetition, especially when the mind is at rest. Repetition in calm builds permanence. As these words repeat, the mind becomes accustomed to the idea of moving towards something rather than reacting to everything. Reaction weakens confidence. Direction restores it. The difference is subtle, yet decisive. Reaction responds to circumstance. Direction shapes circumstance. The man who lives by direction no longer feels pulled in many directions. He chooses where to place attention. Attention placed deliberately becomes power. Power does not announce itself. It accumulates quietly. I have known men who spoke little of their intentions yet advanced steadily because their minds were aligned. Others spoke loudly but moved little because their minds remained divided. Division weakens. Unity strengthens. Unity begins with direction accepted inwardly. As sleep approaches, the conscious mind loosens its grip on alternatives. The deeper mind listens for what feels stable. Stability is attractive to the subconscious. It associates stability with safety. Safety invites commitment. Commitment invites confidence. Confidence sustains effort. You are not being asked to abandon caution. You are being guided towards steadiness. Steadiness does not reject adjustment. It simply refuses drift. Drift is movement without direction. Direction prevents drift. This prevention occurs naturally once direction feels familiar. You may notice that the mind no longer chases every thought. Thoughts pass more easily. Attention settles more quickly. These are signs that direction is becoming the background of awareness. When direction is background, decision becomes foreground. Decision feels simpler. Simplicity restores confidence. Others will sense this change without explanation. They may describe it as certainty, or calm purpose, or quiet ambition. They respond differently to those who know where they are going, even when the destination is not named. The world cooperates with clarity. As repetition continues during rest, the idea of settled direction is being impressed without urgency. The mind is learning that movement does not require anxiety. Progress does not require force. Direction does its work quietly. You may drift in and out of awareness. Let this happen. The subconscious remains alert. It records impressions even when thought fades. The feeling of moving towards something worthwhile is becoming familiar. Familiarity replaces doubt. Doubt fades when it is no longer rehearsed. As morning approaches, you may awaken with a subtle sense of steadiness. Nothing dramatic, just a quiet orientation. This orientation guides action naturally. You may find it easier to choose, easier to decline distraction, easier to remain consistent. These are the early signs of direction taking hold. Direction, once accepted, becomes self-reinforcing. Each step taken strengthens belief. Each result noticed confirms choice. This confirmation does not excite the mind, it calms it. Calm is the soil in which success grows steadily. Remain with the sound. Allow repetition to continue. Direction is settling beneath awareness. And when direction is settled, success no longer feels uncertain. It feels inevitable. I have learned that desire, when misunderstood, becomes noise. It shouts, urges, and exhausts the mind. When understood rightly, desire becomes quiet insistence. It does not plead. It does not rush. It remains present beneath thought, guiding action without agitation. This form of desire endures. Most men mistake desire for emotion. Emotion rises and falls. When it fades, effort collapses with it. The desire that produces success is not emotional heat. It is steady pressure, a calm determination that does not require excitement to remain alive. This determination is learned. The subconscious mind responds not to intensity, but to consistency. Whatever is returned to repeatedly, without resistance, becomes familiar. Desire becomes effective when it is familiar rather than dramatic. I have observed men who spoke little of what they wanted, yet moved steadily toward it. Their desire did not fluctuate with mood. It remained present in silence. Others spoke often of ambition, yet abandoned it when feeling changed. The difference lay in the depth of impression. Quiet desire settles deeper. The night hours are especially powerful for establishing this quiet insistence. When the mind is calm, desire can be introduced without argument. The subconscious accepts it as preference rather than demand. Preference guides behavior gently. Demand creates resistance. As you listen now, you are not being urged to want anything forcefully. You are being allowed to feel the presence of wanting without urgency. This feeling does not excite the mind. It steadies it. Steady wanting organizes effort naturally. When desire is calm, the mind no longer debates whether effort is worthwhile. It proceeds. Action feels appropriate rather than forced. This appropriateness is a sign that desire has aligned with identity. Identity supports desire when desire feels natural. I have known men who carried desire quietly for years before results appeared. They were not discouraged by delay because their desire was not dependent on immediate outcome. It was rooted in expectation rather than hope. Hope waits, expectation proceeds. Expectation is desire made confident. The subconscious distinguishes between wishing and expecting. Wishing feels uncertain. Expecting feels settled. When expectation is impressed repeatedly during rest, behavior aligns without conscious planning. As repetition continues, desire stops feeling like effort. It feels like direction. Direction does not exhaust the mind. It simplifies it. Many men grow tired, not from work, but from inner conflict. They desire something, yet doubt its safety or possibility. This conflict drains energy silently. Quiet insistence dissolves conflict because it does not argue. It remains. I have observed that successful men rarely appear desperate for achievement. Their desire does not show as urgency. It shows as patience. Patience is desire refined through confidence. Confidence removes haste. Haste weakens desire. The man who trusts his desire does not rush it. As you drift closer to sleep, the conscious mind loosens its hold. In this receptive state, the idea that desire can be calm is being impressed. The mind is learning that wanting does not require tension. This lesson is important. When desire feels safe, the subconscious supports it fully. Support expresses itself as persistence. Persistence does not feel heavy when desire is quiet. It feels natural. I have studied men who persisted through repeated refusal without bitterness. Their desire remained intact because it was not attached to approval. It was attached to purpose. This attachment strengthened their confidence rather than weakening it. Approval-seeking desire weakens quickly. Purpose-based desire endures. The subconscious recognizes endurance as safety. Safety allows repetition without fatigue. Repetition builds belief. Belief strengthens desire further. This cycle sustains itself once established. As these words continue, desire is being separated from strain. You are not being urged to intensify wanting. You are being allowed to let wanting settle. Settled desire becomes part of identity. Identity does not require reminder. It expresses itself naturally. You may notice that when desire settles, distraction loses strength. The mind becomes less tempted by passing impulse. Impulse feeds on restlessness. Quiet desire removes restlessness. Restlessness is desire without direction. Direction calms desire. The confident man does not chase every opportunity. He recognizes those aligned with his quiet insistence. Recognition becomes easier as desire clarifies. Clarity is the companion of quiet desire. I have known men who recognized opportunity immediately because their desire had been settled long before the opportunity appeared. Others overlooked the same opportunity because their desire was confused. The subconscious notices what aligns with its expectation. Expectation is trained through repetition. As sleep approaches more deeply, repetition continues without effort. The idea that desire can be calm, steady, and patient is becoming familiar. Familiarity removes doubt. Doubt cannot survive where desire feels natural. You may drift in and out of awareness. This does not interrupt the process. The deeper mind remains attentive, recording rhythm and meaning. Desire is being impressed as preference rather than urgency. This preference guides tomorrow's actions quietly. You may notice in the days ahead that you act with less internal debate. You may move towards certain tasks without hesitation. These movements are signs that desire has become aligned. Aligned desire does not shout. It pulls gently. Others may sense this pull without understanding it. They may describe it as determination, steadiness, or quiet ambition. They respond differently to those who want without needing to prove. Proof follows persistence. Persistence follows quiet desire. As repetition continues, desire becomes background rather than foreground. You do not think about wanting. You move as though wanting were already decided. This is the point at which desire becomes power. Power does not announce itself. It operates. As the conscious mind releases further into rest, allow this understanding to settle. There is nothing to chase, nothing to force. Desire is being accepted as a natural state. Natural desire does not fade. It remains. By morning, you may awaken with a sense of calm expectancy, not excitement, not urgency, just a steady awareness that movement is occurring. This awareness guides action effortlessly. Remain with the sound. Let repetition continue. Desire is becoming quiet. Quiet desire is becoming strong. And strong desire, once settled, does not let go. I have found that faith, when misunderstood, is treated as something a man must summon at will. He attempts to feel it, to force it, or to defend it against doubt. In doing so, he exhausts himself. True faith is not summoned. It is familiar. It feels natural because it has been practiced quietly and often. The subconscious mind accepts what it recognizes. It does not debate truth. It responds to repetition. Whatever thought returns again and again, especially during moments of calm, becomes accepted as reliable. Faith is nothing more than belief made familiar. When belief is unfamiliar, It feels uncertain. When belief is familiar, it feels obvious. I have observed that men who possess enduring faith rarely speak of it. They do not announce belief. They act as though belief were settled. Their manner reflects ease rather than struggle. This ease is the outward sign that belief has passed beneath awareness. Emotion is not faith. Emotion rises quickly and fades just as quickly. Faith remains because it does not depend on feeling. It depends on expectation that has been rehearsed long enough to feel normal. The night hours are where this rehearsal occurs most effectively. During the day, reason interferes. It argues, measures, and compares. At night, reason rests. The deeper mind listens. It absorbs impressions without resistance. When belief is presented calmly in these hours, it enters without contest. As you listen now, belief is not being demanded, it is being introduced quietly. There is no urgency in these words. Urgency awakens resistance. Calm invites acceptance. The subconscious prefers calm authority. I have known men who faced great uncertainty, yet moved forward with steady confidence. They did not know how events would unfold, but they trusted their capacity to respond. This trust did not appear suddenly. It had been practiced inwardly long before it was tested. Practice produces familiarity. Familiarity produces faith. This faith does not shout. It does not deny difficulty. It simply proceeds. Many men attempt to overcome doubt by arguing with it. Argument keeps doubt alive by granting it attention. Faith grows not by confrontation, but by replacement. When belief becomes familiar, doubt loses its place naturally. What is no longer rehearsed fades. What is rehearsed calmly remains. The subconscious does not cling to doubt when belief feels safer. Safety is recognized through repetition, not persuasion. As repetition continues, belief shifts from thought to expectation. Expectation guides behavior automatically. When a man expects steadiness, his body steadies. When he expects competence, his actions align. Others sense this expectation immediately. They respond with trust, because trust follows certainty. I have observed that confident men often appear calm, even when events move quickly. Their calm does not come from indifference. It comes from faith that response will be adequate. This faith allows the mind to remain present rather than racing ahead. Racing weakens judgment. Presence strengthens it. Faith anchors presence. As sleep approaches, awareness softens. This softening allows belief to pass inward without effort. The mind no longer asks whether belief is justified. It accepts what feels familiar. You are not being asked to believe something new. You are being reminded of what belief feels like when it is settled. This reminder works because the mind recognizes it. Recognition dissolves resistance. I have studied men who built great enterprises under uncertain conditions. They adjusted plans repeatedly without losing confidence. Their faith was not tied to any single outcome. It was tied to their belief in orderly progress. Orderliness strengthens faith. Faith strengthens persistence. Persistence brings result. This sequence operates quietly. As these words repeat, belief is becoming associated with calm rather than excitement. This association is important. Excitement fades. Calm endures. Faith that endures produces consistent action. Consistent action produces cumulative result. Others may describe such men as steady, reliable, or grounded. They may not use the word faith, yet they respond to its presence instinctively. Presence is belief made visible. The subconscious learns faith best when it is not examined. Examination belongs to doubt. Acceptance belongs to faith. Acceptance occurs naturally when belief feels familiar. You may notice that fear loses some of its urgency as this happens. Fear depends on attention. When belief becomes the background, fear becomes the interruption. Interruptions fade when ignored. As sleep deepens, the deeper mind remains attentive. It records tone and rhythm. It recognizes steadiness. It accepts steadiness as instruction. Instruction repeated becomes habit. Habit becomes identity. Identity expresses itself as confidence. This confidence does not require effort. It remains even when attention wanders. You may wake with a sense of quiet assurance, nothing dramatic, just a feeling that things are workable. This feeling guides action more effectively than excitement ever could. Faith installed this way does not collapse under pressure. It does not require defense. It stands because it is familiar. Familiarity is the strongest form of belief. As repetition continues, belief settles further. The mind stops questioning what it accepts. It stops rehearsing alternatives that weaken confidence. Faith becomes the default expectation. Default expectations guide destiny. As the conscious mind releases further into rest, allow this understanding to remain without effort. You do not need to hold it. Holding suggests doubt. Letting allows permanence. Faith has found its place. It will express itself tomorrow through steadier judgment, calmer response, and consistent action. Others will sense it without explanation. Confidence will feel natural, and what feels natural endures. Remain with the sound. Let repetition continue. Belief is becoming familiar. Familiar belief is becoming faith, and faith, once settled, does not waver. I have learned that the mind is always listening, even when a man believes he is not instructing it. Every repeated thought, every familiar phrase, every remembered failure or quiet hope becomes a lesson impressed upon the deeper mind. Instruction is occurring continuously, whether chosen deliberately or allowed by neglect. Most men suppose that instruction must be deliberate to be effective. This is not so. The most powerful instruction is casual and repeated, especially during moments when resistance is low. Night is such a moment. When the body rests, the mind opens. What is heard often enough becomes accepted. Acceptance becomes direction. Direction becomes action. This is the chain by which autosuggestion operates, whether a man understands it or not. I have observed that men often strengthen fear without intention by rehearsing it quietly at night. They revisit old errors, replay imagined dangers, and repeat inwardly the same limitations. The subconscious accepts these rehearsals as instruction and responds faithfully. The mind is obedient. It follows what it hears most often. The same law that builds fear can build confidence, success, and steadiness. The difference lies only in what is repeated and how calmly it is delivered. Instruction given in calm is received as truth. Instruction given in strain invites resistance. As you listen now, no effort is required. Effort would interfere. What is occurring here is exposure. Exposure repeated calmly teaches the mind what to expect from itself. Expectation shapes conduct more reliably than command. I have known men who transformed their fortunes not by sudden inspiration, but by changing the language they allowed to circulate inwardly. They replaced phrases of doubt with phrases of direction. Over time, the mind accepted these phrases as familiar, and behavior adjusted naturally. Language shapes belief. Belief shapes action. Action shapes result. Night instruction accelerates this process because the mind is less guarded. Reason rests. Habit listens. Whatever tone is repeated settles more deeply and remains longer. This is why repetition is essential. Repetition does not convince. It normalizes. When confidence is normalized, doubt feels foreign. When success is normalized, failure feels temporary. I have observed that successful men often speak inwardly with quiet authority. They do not encourage themselves frantically. They remind themselves calmly. This calm reminder becomes instruction over time. Instruction repeated becomes habit. Habit becomes identity. Identity directs destiny without effort. As repetition continues, the mind stops evaluating the message. It stops asking whether it is true. It begins acting as though it were true. This is the turning point where instruction becomes power. Power does not announce itself. It operates. The subconscious does not distinguish between words spoken aloud and words heard repeatedly. It records tone, rhythm, and feeling. Calm authority is accepted more readily than forceful insistence. This is why these words are steady rather than urgent. Urgency awakens doubt. Calm invites trust. I have seen men whose confidence appeared unshakable under pressure. When asked how they maintained it, they could not explain. Their explanation had occurred inwardly, long before, through repetition that had settled into belief. Belief settled into habit is not easily disturbed. Fear cannot dislodge what feels familiar. As sleep approaches, awareness softens. The deeper mind remains alert. It listens without question. It records patterns faithfully. It obeys instruction consistently. This obedience is not weakness, it is order. Order produces efficiency. Efficiency produces success. You may drift in and out of awareness. This does not interrupt the process. The subconscious continues listening. It absorbs repetition without effort. Repetition in calm builds permanence. Permanence removes the need for effort. As these ideas repeat, the mind begins releasing old phrases that no longer fit. Phrases of limitation lose strength because they are no longer reinforced. Silence replaces them. Silence allows new instruction to settle. The confident man does not argue with himself. He instructs himself calmly. Others sense this instruction through his manner. His voice steadies. His posture relaxes. His timing improves. These changes are not practiced consciously. They follow belief naturally. Belief is being shaped now. You may notice tomorrow that certain reactions feel easier. Certain decisions feel clearer. These are signs that instruction has reached beneath thought. Autosuggestion is not a moment. It is a process. The process works quietly. I have known men who listened to calm instruction night after night until belief shifted so completely that old habits no longer appealed. The mind had accepted a new standard. Standards govern behavior. Behavior governs result. As sleep deepens, allow this understanding to remain without attention. Attention suggests doubt. Trust allows instruction to complete its work. The mind is learning through exposure. Confidence is becoming familiar. Success is becoming orderly. Fear is losing its place. By morning, you may not remember what was said, but you will respond differently. Response is the proof of belief. Belief has begun to change. And belief, once changed, changes everything that follows. Remain with the sound. Let repetition continue. The mind is listening, and it is learning success as its natural language. I have observed that persistence, when misunderstood, is treated as endurance through pain. Men imagine it as grim effort, clenched will, and constant struggle. This misunderstanding causes many to abandon their course prematurely. True persistence is not strain. It is loyalty. Loyalty to an inner agreement that does not require constant defense. When a man has settled his direction inwardly, persistence follows naturally. He does not push himself daily to continue. He continues because stopping no longer feels reasonable. The mind accepts continuation as normal once agreement is complete. This agreement is formed quietly. The subconscious responds to what feels settled, not to what feels forced. When persistence is impressed during calm moments, it becomes habit rather than effort. Habit does not exhaust the mind. Exhaustion comes from inner conflict. Loyalty removes conflict. I have known men who worked steadily for years without appearing weary. Their persistence did not feel heavy because it was aligned with belief. Others, equally capable, tired quickly because they were arguing inwardly with their own efforts. Argument drains energy. Agreement conserves it. Persistence grows from agreement. The night hours provide the ideal condition for reinforcing this. Agreement. When the conscious mind rests, resistance fades. The deeper mind listens for consistency. When it hears consistency repeated calmly, it accepts continuation as safe. Safety invites endurance. Endurance sustains effort. I have studied men who reached great success after long delay. They were not driven by urgency. They were guided by quiet insistence. Delay did not discourage them because they did not interpret delay as failure. They interpreted it as part of the process. Interpretation shapes emotion. Emotion shapes endurance. Endurance sustains persistence. As you listen now, the idea of remaining loyal to your course is being impressed gently. There is no demand to endure hardship. Hardship may come, but loyalty does not depend on hardship. It depends on agreement. Agreement does not require effort. It requires acceptance. Many men abandon worthy aims not because the aim is difficult, but because they did not allow it to settle inwardly. They carried it only in thought, not in belief. When effort was required, belief was not present to support it. Belief supports persistence. Persistence proves belief. This cycle strengthens itself once begun. I have observed that persistent men rarely complain of fatigue. They rest when rest is required. They work when work is required. They do not dramatize either. This balance preserves strength. Balance is persistence refined. The subconscious learns persistence best when it is associated with calm rather than struggle. Calm teaches the mind that continuation is safe. Struggle teaches the mind to resist. As repetition continues during rest, the idea of steady continuation is becoming familiar. Familiarity removes the sense of burden. What feels familiar does not feel heavy. You may notice that resistance softens as this happens. Tasks that once felt difficult feel simpler. This does not mean effort disappears. It means effort is no longer opposed internally. Opposition weakens persistence. Alignment strengthens it. I have known men who rebuilt after repeated defeat simply because they refused to retreat inwardly. They adjusted plans, but they did not abandon themselves. This refusal preserved confidence and allowed persistence to remain intact. Retreat weakens belief. Adjustment strengthens it. The subconscious recognizes adjustment as intelligence rather than failure. As sleep approaches, awareness may soften further. The deeper mind remains attentive. It records the association between loyalty and calm. This association is powerful. Loyalty becomes identity. Identity sustains action. Action produces result. Others sense persistence instinctively. They trust those who remain steady over time. This trust opens doors that brilliance alone cannot. Persistence creates reliability. Reliability creates opportunity. Opportunity rewards persistence. This sequence unfolds quietly. As repetition continues, persistence stops feeling like effort and begins feeling like habit. Habit does not require motivation. It requires only consistency. Consistency grows naturally from agreement. Agreement has been forming throughout this listening. You may wake with a subtle sense of resolve that does not feel urgent. It feels settled. This is the sign that persistence has begun to operate beneath awareness. Settled resolve does not waver easily. It does not collapse under delay. It remains present without demand. As you rest now, allow this understanding to remain without attention. There is nothing to force. Persistence grows best when it is not examined constantly. Examination invites doubt. Trust invites endurance. Trust is being installed quietly. The mind is learning that remaining is natural. Stopping feels unnecessary. This lesson, once accepted, does not fade easily. By morning, you may notice a greater ease in continuing tasks you once postponed. This is not excitement. It is loyalty expressing itself. Loyalty to direction, loyalty to belief, loyalty to self. This loyalty is the true source of persistence. Remain with the sound. Let repetition continue. Persistence is becoming calm. Calm persistence is becoming strength. And strength that does not strain endures. I have found that the mind loses more strength through indecision than through error. Error can be corrected. Indecision teaches the mind to distrust itself. Each time a man delays a choice unnecessarily, he instructs his subconscious that certainty is unsafe. This instruction repeats quietly until hesitation becomes habit. Decision, rightly understood, is not speed. It is finality. It is the moment when the mind ends its argument and commits to movement. When finality appears, the mind relaxes. Relaxation allows power to gather. Confidence rises naturally because confusion has been dismissed. Most men fear decision because they confuse it with risk. They believe choosing closes doors. In truth, indecision closes more doors than any decision ever could. The mind that refuses to choose forfeits momentum. Momentum belongs to those who decide. I have observed men of ordinary judgment surpass others of sharper intellect simply because they decided and moved. Their confidence did not come from perfect choice. It came from loyalty to choice. The mind forgives wrong turns more easily than it forgives retreat. Retreat weakens belief. Movement strengthens it. The subconscious responds immediately to finality. Once a choice is accepted inwardly, the mind stops rehearsing alternatives. Energy that was scattered gathers. Thought organizes itself around the chosen direction. Action becomes simpler. This organization feels like relief. Relief is confidence's quiet signal. I have known men who carried uncertainty for years and felt exhausted without knowing why. The moment they decided even imperfectly, their fatigue lifted. The mind no longer labored under endless debate. Decision restored order. Order restores strength. The night hours are especially effective for impressing finality because the conscious mind no longer defends hesitation. During the day, reason multiplies options. At night, simplicity prevails. The mind prefers one settled path to many imagined ones. As you listen now, you are not being asked to decide a particular matter. You are being acquainted with the feeling of decision. This feeling is calm. It is quiet. It does not rush. When this feeling becomes familiar, decision follows naturally when required. The confident man does not deliberate endlessly. He considers, then concludes. Conclusion ends inner conflict. Conflict drains energy. Conclusion restores it. I have observed that decisive men speak differently. Their words are fewer. Their tone steadier. They do not soften statements unnecessarily. They do not over-explain. Explanation often serves doubt more than clarity. Clarity does not require defense. Others sense this clarity immediately. They respond with cooperation, even when they disagree. Firmness invites respect because it signals self-command. Self-command is confidence expressed inwardly. Decision practiced regularly becomes habit. Habit becomes identity. Identity does not hesitate. It acts when action is required and rests when rest is appropriate. This balance prevents strain. Many men imagine that decisiveness demands constant action. This is false. Decisiveness means deciding when to act and when to wait. Waiting chosen deliberately is decision, not delay. Delay avoids choice. Waiting honors it. The subconscious recognizes the difference. As repetition continues during rest, the mind is learning that decision feels safe. Safety is essential. When decision feels safe, hesitation loses its appeal. Hesitation survives only where fear is rehearsed. Fear is not being rehearsed here. Calm is. I have known men who rebuilt shattered confidence by making small decisions and honoring them. They chose when to rise, when to work, when to rest, and they stood by these choices. The mind responded quickly, restoring trust. Trust in oneself is the foundation of decisiveness. Without trust, choice feels dangerous. With trust, choice feels natural. As sleep approaches, awareness softens. The deeper mind remains alert. It records the association between decision and calm. This association is powerful. Once established, it endures. You may notice that indecision begins to feel uncomfortable. This is a sign of authority returning. The mind prefers order to chaos. Decision supplies order. Order supplies confidence. Confidence supports further decision. This cycle strengthens itself quietly. Others will notice the change before you do. They may describe you as more certain, more grounded, more dependable. You need not explain. Explanation weakens authority. Let consistency speak. Decision does not announce itself. It reveals itself through follow-through. As repetition continues, the mind accepts finality as normal. Normality removes effort. You no longer prepare yourself to decide. You simply do. This is the point where decision becomes identity. Identity does not waver easily. It adjusts without retreat. It corrects without self-criticism. These qualities preserve confidence under pressure. As you rest now, allow this understanding to remain without attention. There is nothing to force. Decision grows best when it is allowed to settle. The mind is learning to conclude, to choose, to stand by choice calmly. By morning, you may notice decisions feel lighter, debate shortens, action follows more smoothly. These are signs that finality has taken root. Remain with the sound. Let repetition continue. Decision is becoming calm. Calm decision is becoming strength. And strength guided by finality does not hesitate. I have observed that no man rises far alone, even when he appears to stand by himself. Behind every enduring achievement there is harmony of thought, sometimes visible, often unseen. This harmony does not require constant company. It requires agreement of purpose, rhythm of effort, and freedom from inward resistance toward others. Isolation weakens power, not because a man lacks ability, but because thought multiplies when shared. The mind expands when it meets agreement. When it meets discord, it contracts. Confidence grows most naturally in environments where thought is welcomed rather than opposed. The mastermind is not merely association. It is harmony. Harmony begins inwardly. A man must first harmonize his own thoughts before he can harmonize with others. When the mind is divided inwardly, cooperation feels dangerous. When the mind is settled, cooperation feels natural. I have known men who struggled alone for years until they learned to invite harmony rather than guard isolation. Their progress quickened not because they surrendered independence, but because they released resistance. Resistance consumes energy. Harmony multiplies it. The subconscious recognizes harmony as safety. Safety allows openness. Openness invites strength. The night hours are powerful for restoring this openness. During the day, the mind often defends itself against influence. At night, defenses rest. The deeper mind listens without suspicion. It becomes receptive to the idea that cooperation does not weaken authority. Authority is strengthened through harmony. The confident man does not fear agreement. He does not fear counsel. He does not fear shared effort. His confidence rests in direction, not in dominance. Dominance breeds resistance. Harmony invites cooperation. I have observed that men who inspire loyalty rarely command it directly. Their steadiness invites others into alignment. This invitation is felt rather than spoken. It arises from clarity of purpose and calm assurance. Others respond instinctively to this calm. They contribute willingly. Contribution strengthens the group. The group reinforces the individual. This exchange multiplies power quietly. As you listen now, the idea of shared rhythm is being impressed gently. There is no demand to seek others or change associations immediately. What is being restored is openness, the willingness to receive thought without threat. This willingness begins inwardly. When a man no longer argues with himself, he no longer argues reflexively with others. Harmony begins at this point. I have studied the lives of men who built great enterprises, and I found that none attempted to know everything. They gathered minds around them that complemented their own. This gathering was not accidental. It followed from humility balanced by confidence. Humility without confidence invites control. Confidence without humility invites isolation. Balance invites harmony. The subconscious learns balance through repetition. When harmony is presented calmly, without insistence, it is accepted as safe. You may notice that resentment softens as this happens. Resentment resists cooperation. When resentment fades, cooperation feels natural again. This does not require agreement with everyone. It requires freedom from inner opposition. The confident man chooses harmony where it strengthens purpose and remains firm where it does not. This discernment preserves authority while inviting cooperation. Discernment grows from calm. Calm is being cultivated now. As repetition continues during rest, the mind associates cooperation with strength rather than threat. This association is important. When cooperation feels strong, isolation loses appeal. Isolation weakens momentum. Momentum thrives on shared purpose. I have known men who moved faster with fewer efforts simply because they aligned with others of similar aim. Their confidence grew because they were reinforced by agreement rather than drained by conflict. Conflict consumes attention. Agreement frees it. Freed attention becomes power. Others sense this power without explanation. They describe such men as leaders, not because they command, but because they harmonize. Harmony attracts participation. Participation multiplies effort. Effort multiplied produces result. As sleep approaches, awareness softens. The deeper mind remains attentive. It records the feeling of shared rhythm. It accepts harmony as natural. You may wake with a subtle openness toward counsel, toward cooperation, toward shared effort. This openness does not weaken you. It strengthens judgment by widening perspective. Perspective clarifies decision. Decision guides action. Action confirms confidence. The mastermind principle, impressed this way, does not feel like dependence. It feels like expansion. The mind no longer carries every burden alone. It shares weight, where sharing strengthens purpose. Strength shared increases. Strength guarded diminishes. As repetition continues, harmony becomes background. You no longer think about cooperation. You recognize it when it appears. Recognition guides response naturally. This is the mark of alignment. Others will notice this change through your manner. They may feel more at ease speaking with you. They may offer assistance unprompted. These responses are natural results of harmony expressed quietly. You do not need to invite them consciously. Presence invites them. As the conscious mind releases further into rest, allow this understanding to remain without effort. There is nothing to arrange now. Harmony will form naturally where purpose aligns. The mind is learning that cooperation is safe. Safe cooperation strengthens confidence. Confidence welcomes harmony. This cycle reinforces itself quietly. Remain with the sound. Let repetition continue. Harmony is becoming natural. Shared rhythm is becoming strength. And strength that flows through harmony multiplies without strain. I have learned that disorder in action is always preceded by disorder in thought. Men do not fail because they lack effort, but because their effort is scattered. When the mind holds many half-formed intentions, none receive full strength. Order gathers strength where confusion divides it. Planning, when misunderstood, becomes rigidity. Men attempt to force events to match expectation, and when events resist, they grow discouraged. True planning is not force, it is arrangement. It arranges thoughts so action may proceed without waste. The subconscious responds to order immediately. Order feels safe. Safety allows movement. I have observed that men who plan calmly do not feel hurried. Their plans are flexible because their thinking is ordered. They adjust without distress because adjustment does not threaten identity. Identity rests in purpose, not in any single arrangement. This distinction is important. Rigidity weakens confidence. Order strengthens it. I have known men who rebuilt entire enterprises after failure simply because their minds remained ordered. They did not panic when plans failed. They rearranged. Rearrangement preserved momentum. Momentum belongs to those who think clearly under change. The night hours are especially effective for restoring order because the conscious mind releases its grip on detail. During the day, thought clutters itself with urgency. At night, simplicity returns. The deeper mind seeks arrangement naturally. As you listen now, the idea of calm order is being impressed without instruction. You are not being asked to plan anything immediately. You are being allowed to feel what order feels like when it is not rushed. Order does not demand haste. It invites clarity. Clarity guides action effortlessly. I have observed that successful men rarely appear overwhelmed. They may carry great responsibility, yet their manner remains composed. This composure arises from ordered thinking. When thought is ordered, responsibility feels manageable. Disorder magnifies difficulty. Order reduces it. The subconscious recognizes patterns of order as instruction. When order is repeated calmly, it becomes habit. Habit guides planning automatically. Automatic order does not tire the mind. It supports it. As repetition continues during rest, the mind is learning that planning does not require anxiety. Anxiety interferes with judgment. Calm planning sharpens it. You may notice that confusion softens as this happens. Thoughts begin to line up naturally. Decisions feel easier. These are signs that order is asserting itself beneath awareness. I have known men who overcame chronic indecision simply by arranging their thinking before arranging their actions. They clarified direction inwardly, then allowed steps to follow. This sequence preserved confidence. Confidence does not require perfect plans. It requires ordered thought. Ordered thought allows adjustment. Adjustment preserves progress. As sleep approaches, awareness softens further. The deeper mind remains attentive. It records the association between calm and order. This association is powerful. Once established, it endures. You may wake with a sense of structure that was not present before. Tasks may appear in clearer sequence. Distractions may lose strength. These are natural results of ordered thinking. Others will notice this change through your conduct. They may describe you as more organized, more dependable, more prepared. You need not explain. Explanation is unnecessary when order is evident. Order communicates itself. The confident man does not cling to plans rigidly. He uses them as guides, not chains. This flexibility preserves confidence during uncertainty. Confidence weakens when plans are treated as identity. Confidence strengthens when purpose remains central. Purpose guides planning. Planning serves purpose. This hierarchy preserves balance. As repetition continues, the mind accepts order as normal. Normality removes effort. You no longer struggle to arrange thought. Thought arranges itself. This is the mark of maturity. Mature planning feels quiet. Quiet planning endures. As the conscious mind releases further into rest, allow this understanding to remain without attention. There is nothing to complete now. Order has begun its work. The mind is learning that clarity is safe. Safety allows progress. Progress strengthens confidence. This cycle sustains itself quietly. Remain with the sound. Let repetition continue. Order is settling beneath awareness. Clarity is becoming natural. And when thought is ordered, success follows without confusion. I have learned that success reaches its final form when it no longer feels like something being built. It becomes something lived. At this stage, effort does not disappear, but it no longer feels opposed. The mind and action move together without friction. This harmony is the clearest sign that the inner work is complete. The 13 principles were never meant to be practiced as separate acts. They function as one law expressed through many movements. When the mind is ordered, direction settles. When direction settles, desire steadies. When desire steadies, belief becomes familiar. Each movement supports the others quietly. Success emerges when nothing is resisting. Resistance exhausts. Agreement restores strength. I have observed that men who reach this stage stop speaking of success as a goal. They speak of work, responsibility, and direction. Success follows them rather than being pursued by them. This reversal is subtle yet decisive. The confident man does not chase outcome. He prepares himself. Preparation invites outcome naturally. At this point, the subconscious no longer requires instruction. It has accepted a new standard. This standard governs judgment, reaction, and habit without conscious effort. The man does not think about persistence. He persists. He does not think about confidence. He expresses it. Expression replaces effort. Effort belongs to formation. Expression belongs to completion. I have known men who appeared calm in moments that unsettled others. Their calm was not indifference. It was alignment. They were not searching for answers inwardly. They were responding outwardly. This is the mark of settled identity. Identity does not question itself. It acts. The night hours have done their work quietly. What was repeated calmly has become familiar. What became familiar has been accepted. What has been accepted now directs conduct. This direction does not announce itself. It simply operates. You may notice that your inner dialogue has softened. The need to persuade yourself has diminished. Persuasion belongs to doubt. Acceptance belongs to confidence. Confidence, once accepted, does not argue. It proceeds. I have observed that men at this stage rarely feel overwhelmed. They may feel pressure, but pressure does not confuse them. Confusion has been replaced by order. Order allows pressure to be managed rather than resisted. Resistance magnifies difficulty. Acceptance clarifies response. This clarity is now natural. The principles that once required attention no longer do. They have merged into habit. Habit has merged into character. Character governs destiny without instruction. This is the final movement. You may awaken with no dramatic sensation. This is expected. Dramatic feeling fades. Quiet certainty remains. You may simply notice that thought feels clearer, reaction steadier, and action more consistent. These are the signs of completion. Others will sense this change without explanation. They may trust you more readily. They may respond to you with less resistance. They may describe you as grounded or dependable. These responses occur because confidence is now being expressed without effort. Effortless confidence cannot be imitated. It must be lived. As sleep deepens, the conscious mind releases fully. The subconscious remains alert, guarding what has been installed. It rejects what no longer belongs. Fear loses familiarity. Doubt loses urgency. Drift loses appeal. What remains is steadiness. Steadiness does not need reinforcement. It sustains itself. Success at this point is no longer something you think about. It is something that unfolds naturally from ordered thought, settled belief, and consistent action. This unfolding does not require supervision. It follows law. Law does not hurry. Law does not fail. I have devoted my life to studying this law in men from all walks of life, and I have never found an exception. When the inner world is arranged, the outer world responds. Always. The delay may differ, the form may differ, the response never fails. As you rest now, allow everything to remain undisturbed. There is nothing more to install, nothing to correct, nothing to force. The work has been done in the only place it could be done. Within. Tomorrow and in the days ahead, success will reveal itself quietly, in how you decide, in how you persist, in how you recover, in how you wait without anxiety. This is success lived rather than sought. This is confidence without announcement. This is direction without strain. This is belief without argument. This is identity aligned. Let conscribes the night complete its work. Let the mind rest in order. Success is no longer approaching. It is already in motion, and it will continue. There comes a point when the mind no longer needs guidance, only rest. When effort has arranged what it can arrange, and repetition has impressed what it can impress, silence becomes the final teacher. In silence, the mind confirms what it has already accepted. This is that moment. Nothing more is required now. The work of success is not loud. It does not announce completion. It simply continues. When the inner world is settled, progress unfolds without supervision. The mind no longer asks whether it is on the right path. It moves because movement has become natural. Natural movement is the sign of alignment. I have observed that men who reach this state do not feel as though they have arrived. Arrival belongs to journeys that end. Success, rightly understood, is ongoing expression. It does not pause for recognition. It does not require confirmation. It reveals itself quietly through judgment, steadiness, and restraint. Restraint is often misunderstood. It is not limitation. It is choice exercised calmly. The confident man does not exhaust himself proving strength. He allows strength to remain. What remains endures. The principles you have heard are no longer ideas to be recalled. They are conditions that have begun to govern thought without effort. Thought has become more orderly, expectation more stable, action more consistent. These changes may feel subtle. Subtle does not mean weak. Subtle changes last. The mind now understands that success does not require constant attention. Attention has already done its work. What remains is trust, trust in the order that has been established. Trust removes strain. Strain belongs to becoming. Being requires none. I have known men who lost all outward signs of success and yet remained unshaken, because success had moved inward long before. Others gained outward reward quickly and lost it just as quickly because the inner arrangement had never occurred. What is built inwardly remains. What is borrowed outwardly fades. This is the quiet law that governs all. Achievement. As you rest now, there is no need to think forward. The future does not require rehearsal. It will be met with the same steadiness that has been cultivated here. Whatever arrives will be addressed calmly, because calm has become familiar. Familiar calm is confidence completed. You may notice, in the days ahead, that you speak less about what you intend and do more of what matters. You may feel less need to explain yourself. You may find patience easier to maintain. These are not changes to analyze. They are confirmations. Others will sense this shift without understanding it. They may respond differently to you. They may trust you more readily. They may feel steadied in your presence. This is not influence sought. It is influence expressed. The confident man does not attempt to influence. He allows alignment to speak. As sleep deepens, thought will thin and then fade. This is as it should be. The subconscious remains alert, holding what has been accepted and releasing what no longer belongs. Fear does not belong. Doubt does not belong. Drift does not belong. Order belongs. Direction belongs. Confidence belongs. These qualities will remain when awareness returns. You do not need to remember these words. What matters has already been recorded. The night has done its work. Let rest take over completely now. Nothing is being lost. Everything that matters is staying. And when morning comes, success will not need to be summoned. It will already be present, quiet, steady, enduring. This is enough. There is a depth of rest where the mind no longer seeks answers because it senses that answers are unnecessary. At this depth, the mind does not wander. It settles. Settlement is not emptiness. It is order without effort. This is where confidence rests. When confidence reaches this place, it no longer rises or falls. It remains because nothing challenges it. There is no argument left to answer, no fear left to persuade, no future left to rehearse. Only steadiness remains. I have observed that men who reach this depth of inner quiet carry themselves differently, even in stillness. Their rest is complete. Their silence feels full. They do not appear to be waiting for life to begin, because life is already moving through them. Movement no longer requires thought. It proceeds naturally. At this depth, the mind does not concern itself with yesterday or tomorrow. Time loses its urgency. What matters has already been decided. Direction has already been accepted. Identity has already taken its place. Nothing further is required. The subconscious recognizes this stillness as safety. Safety allows it to guard what belongs and release what does not. It performs this task without effort, just as the body breathes without command. Confidence, once this still, cannot be disturbed. Disturbance requires attention. Attention has withdrawn. I have known men who found their greatest strength not in moments of effort, but in moments of rest like this, when the mind stopped pressing forward and allowed order to hold. From that order, action later emerged with greater clarity than before. Rest is not absence of progress, it is preparation without strain. As sleep deepens now, thought may thin to the point of disappearance. This is not loss, it is completion. The conscious mind steps aside. The deeper mind remains awake to what has already been accepted. Accepted belief does not need guarding. It guards itself. You will not carry these words with you into waking thought. They are not meant to be carried. They are meant to settle beneath memory, beneath effort, beneath awareness. From there, they will express themselves quietly, in how you rise, in how you wait, in how you decide without tension. Others will sense this steadiness without knowing why. They may feel calmer near you. They may trust you without reason. They may follow your lead without being asked. This is not power sought. It is power aligned. Aligned power rests easily. As the final moments of wakefulness pass, allow everything to release. There is nothing left to do, nothing left to understand, nothing left to prepare. What matters has already been arranged. Sleep now without thought. Let the night hold what belongs. And when morning comes, confidence will still be there, unchanged, unmoved, and quietly complete. There is a moment just before sleep takes full command, when the mind stops reaching outward and turns inward without intention. In that moment, the mind does not seek guidance. It accepts what has already been settled. This acceptance is the final act of confidence. Confidence at this depth does not feel like strength. It feels like ease. Ease is strength that no longer needs to assert itself. It rests because nothing within is questioning its right to remain. I have seen men reach this ease after years of searching, only to realize that nothing new had been added. What changed was subtraction. Doubt was no longer entertained. Hesitation was no longer rehearsed. The mind grew quiet because it had nothing left to defend. Defense belongs to uncertainty. Certainty rests. At this depth, thought slows until it becomes almost transparent. Ideas pass without attachment. Feelings arise without disturbance. The mind is no longer preparing for anything. Preparation has already been completed. What remains is presence. Presence without effort is confidence in its final form. In this presence, the future no longer presses forward demanding attention. The past no longer calls for correction. Both have been released to their proper places. The mind stays where it is, and where it is feels sufficient. Sufficiency is the end of striving. I have observed that men who live from this place move through life with quiet authority. They do not hurry, yet they are not late. They do not push, yet they are not passive. Their timing feels natural because it is not argued with. Argument has ended. The inner voice that once questioned has grown still, not silenced, but satisfied. Satisfaction does not speak loudly. It rests. The subconscious recognizes this stillness as order complete. It maintains it faithfully, without supervision, without reminder. What belongs is held. What does not belong is allowed to fade. Fear does not belong here. Restlessness does not belong here. Only steadiness remains. As sleep deepens now, even these words may begin to drift. That is as it should be. Words are only guides. What they pointed to has already been reached. Nothing is being lost. Everything essential is staying. You do not need to remember this moment. Memory is unnecessary. Identity has already been arranged. It will express itself naturally when waking returns. Until then, allow the mind to release fully. Let thought dissolve. Let effort disappear. Let confidence remain not as something you feel, but as something you no longer question. Sleep now. The night knows what to do. And when morning comes, you will rise, not searching, not proving, not preparing, but simply continuing.